My palms were slick against the control yoke, but I refused to let go. The trembling in my hands had worsened with every system light that blinked out. My crew murmured prayers to the old gods, the names a muted chorus around me. The Star Wraith, flagship of the Hollow Crusade, was built for war, not whatever this was. Groans ripped through her reinforced hull as the unnatural storm raged around us. It had come from nowhere, this swirling madness out in the dead zones of the far galactic rim. Sensor screens flared with static, a gibbering language of numbers and nonsensical readings. We were blind and deaf, hurtling towards the unknown. "Commander!" Captain Vale's voice cut through the murmurs of panic. "The vortex! It's pulling us in!" Of course it was. There'd been no outsmarting it, no escape route in those final moments. We'd known venturing past the established outpost was a gamble. Relics of the old gods don't come easily. Steady the thrusters as best you can. Prepare for emergency deceleration. If we can break free, we might have a chance. My order was the thinnest veil of control, but I had to speak it. Silence only left room for the fear to fester. The Star Wraith bucked and shuddered violently. The bridge lights blinked, then died, plunging us into a darkness pierced only by the glow of emergency strips. My second-in-command, Paxley, had risen. His gaunt face was a mask of terror poorly hidden under discipline. It mirrored what I felt but could not show. "My readings, the vortex, it's not a natural phenomenon, it's intelligent." My jaw tightened so hard it ached. Intelligent. That meant a trap. We'd been fools lured into an ambush, but by whom? The far rim was considered devoid of advanced civilizations. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my skin. The crusade was built on unearthing lost truths, reclaiming artifacts of the divine, no matter how dangerous the mission. We could not, would not turn back now. "Paxley, if there's a pilot behind this storm, we must find its center. Any change in the energy readings?" He hunched deeper over his console. "It's inconsistent, spikes and lulls, unpredictable." Unpredictability offers opportunity. Chart a path through the weakest fluxes. We forge ahead. Hope was a fragile thing now, a wisp of smoke in a hurricane. Through the viewport, the maelstrom writhed and churned, an impossible blend of colors that seared the eyes. I blinked back the pain, focusing. The crusade demanded sacrifice. I would guide them, if not to victory, then to a death worthy of their zealous hearts. "Commander!" Vale's voice held a terrible tremor now. "Something's manifesting within the storm." It took every bit of willpower not to turn my head, not to allow the instinctual fear to take hold. "Clarify, Captain." "A structure, sir. Impossible dimensions. It wasn't there seconds ago." We were on the precipice of something momentous, something utterly beyond all we knew. Dread and exhilaration warred within me. For good or ill, I'd steered the Hollow Crusade straight into history. I slammed my fist against the viewport, the crack of my knuckles barely audible above the tortured groans of the ship. The structure Vale mentioned wasn't a structure. It was a living thing. An undulating mass of inky darkness surged with an unnatural rhythm, tendrils of its essence reaching out to embrace the Star Wraith within its swirling embrace. "Weapon status?" My voice was a hoarse croak in the emergency lighting. "Offline," Paxley reported from his post. "The storm surge overloaded everything. We're sitting ducks." Panic was a tangible thing on the bridge now. A cold sweat that prickled my skin and choked my vision. 1,000 eyes stared back at me, raw fear replacing the zeal that had fueled their devotion. I couldn't blame them. This Leviathan from beyond the stars made our warship look like a child's toy. I straightened, forcing a semblance of calm into my voice. "Hear me, men! We face a trial sent by the old gods themselves. It tests our faith, our courage. We will not falter. We will find a way to fight back." A few men nodded, eyes hardening with renewed determination. A low, booming voice rang through the hull, resonating deep in our bones. It wasn't a sound, it was a feeling of immense power infused with malice. The tendrils of darkness writhed closer, and the storm intensified, the tortured metal of the ship groaning in protest. "It speaks!" Vale's voice was raw with terror. "I can't translate it, but it demands tribute." Tribute. Of course it did. This entity, this monstrosity, craved something from us. But what? Lives? Souls? "Engineering!" I barked. "Get backup power to the escape pods, now!" Surprise crossed Paxley's face, but he relayed the command without question. The escape pods wouldn't stand a chance against this storm. Suddenly, a brilliant flash erupted within the mass of darkness. A section of the entity glowed with a different light, a blinding white that momentarily pushed back the storm's fury. It was a fleeting glimpse, a momentary glitch in the entity's horrific form. "Commander!" Paxley shouted, his voice laced with excitement. "There's something within the creature, a beacon, some kind of signal." "Focus the remaining sensors on the beacon! Identify its source!" I roared. If this entity demanded tribute, perhaps we could offer it something else. A distraction, a weapon. The bridge was a whirlwind of frantic activity. Technicians scrambled, sweat dripping from their faces as they wrestled with dying systems. Prayers muttered in forgotten tongues hung in the air. The rumble of the dark entity intensified, its tendrils reaching closer, scraping against the hull with a sound like 1,000 fingernails on a chalkboard. With a final desperate burst, a technician yelled, "The beacon! It's originating from within the creature! From within that white light!" A desperate plan took shape in my mind. "Paxley," I said, my voice tight, "plot a course towards the heart of the white light. Prepare for a full reverse thruster burn." He stared at me for a moment, understanding slowly dawning on his face. "But Commander, that's suicide." "Perhaps," I conceded, "but it's the only chance we have." With a curt nod of confirmation, Paxley relayed the command. The bridge lurched as the Star Wraith strained against the storm, reversing thrusters, fighting a losing battle against the entity's pull. The men around me understood. They faced death no matter which way we turned. This was simply a more audacious way to meet it. A silent prayer formed on my lips, a plea to the gods, old or new, that this desperate gamble might somehow tip the scales in our favor. The tendrils of darkness brushed against the view screen, momentarily obscuring the horrifying face of our nemesis. But through the churning black, I could see it, the beacon of white light. The Star Wraith screamed in protest as we hurtled toward the heart of the white anomaly. The bridge crew, now clad in biohazard suits as a desperate precaution, braced themselves against the groaning hull. The screams of the damned seemed to emanate from the storm itself, a symphony of terror that threatened to shatter my resolve. Suddenly, the white light flared, engulfing the Star Wraith in a blinding light. The darkness receded, the thrum of the storm replaced by an unsettling silence. It felt wrong, unnatural, like the pause before a predator's final strike. "Sensor readings are off the charts," Paxley said, his voice distorted by the suit's modulator. The white light seemed to warp reality around it, distorting the view screen, making it impossible to tell up from down, left from right. Then, just as abruptly, the light vanished. We were plunged back into the chaotic darkness, but something had changed. The entity was gone. In its place, a swirling vortex of energy throbbed before us, its center a gaping maw lined with jagged obsidian-like teeth. "It's a gateway," I breathed, a sense of foreboding settling in my gut. It was one thing to face a monstrous entity, it was another to charge blindly into the unknown it had birthed. But we didn't have a choice. The escape pods wouldn't make it through the storm, and this gateway, however terrifying, appeared to be our only way out. "Full forward thrusters, take us through that maw," I commanded, my voice tight. A murmur of nervous assent rippled through the bridge. The Star Wraith lurched forward, drawn into the vortex's gravitational pull. The jagged maw seemed to expand to swallow us whole. the shimmering energy washing over the ship like a tidal wave. For a horrifying moment, everything went black. Then light, blinding, searing light, unlike anything I'd ever witnessed. Agony lanced through my body, every nerve ending screaming. My vision blurred, the world dissolving into a kaleidoscope of colours. When the agonizing white light finally subsided, I found myself sprawled on the cold metal deck of the bridge. My ears were ringing, and a wave of nausea washed over me. Groans and gasps filled the air as the crew slowly stirred. I pushed myself up, wincing at the throbbing pain in my head. Looking around, I took in the scene, a sense of bewildered awe battling with the remnants of terror. The star wraith appeared strangely whole despite our brush with oblivion. But the surroundings, they defied description. We were floating in an endless expanse of swirling, nebulous clouds, the colours shifting and morphing in an impossible dance. Scattered throughout this celestial ocean were colossal, skeletal structures, their blackened bones reaching out like the grasping claws of a dead god. Then, in the distance, a sight that sent a fresh jolt of fear through me. A city, but not a city of metal and glass. This was a metropolis carved from the very bones of the dead giants. A sprawling necropolis of obsidian and bone. Paxley stumbled to his feet beside me, his face pale beneath his helmet. Where are we?" he asked. I didn't have the answer. All I knew was that the Hollow Crusade had just entered a nightmare. Silence reigned on the bridge, broken only by the ragged breaths of my crew and the distant rumble from the bowels of the ship. The nebulous expanse beyond the viewport was a swirling sea of impossible colours, a stark contrast to the bone city looming large in the distance. It was an oppressive sight. The architecture twisted and macabre, a testament to a civilization both advanced and utterly alien. "Gods be damned," muttered Garrick, a hulking brute of a man usually known for his stoicism. His voice held a tremor of raw fear, a sentiment I couldn't entirely suppress myself. Paxley pulled himself together first. "Commander, what are our orders? Engage scanners? Prepare for combat?" I scanned the skyline of the necropolis, searching for any sign of life, any hint of what awaited us. "Hold off on combat for now. Sensors only. We need to understand what we're dealing with before we start throwing punches." A low hum filled the bridge as the scanners whirred to life. Data streams flooded the consoles, scrolling with an alarming rapidity. Sweat prickled on my brow as I watched. "Readings are inconsistent," Paxley spoke, his voice strained. "There's no clear energy signature, no life signs as we know them, but there's something else, a pervasive psychic presence. It's invasive." My gut clenched. Psychic presence? We were not just dealing with an alien civilization, but potentially one that could manipulate our very minds. "Can you shield us?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. Paxley shook his head slowly. "Our standard shields are purely physical. This, whatever it is, operates on a different plane." Suddenly something on the main screen caught my eye. A section of the necropolis, a vast obsidian edifice shaped like a ribcage, flashed with a green light. "Did you see that?" Paxley's voice reflected my own growing unease. "Plot a course towards that structure," I commanded, a sense of grim determination welling up within me. We were trapped, adrift in this nebulous hell, but retreat wasn't an option. The storm raged on outside this, whatever this place was. We had to find a way out, a way back. If this alien city held the key, then we had to take the risk. The Star Wraith lumbered forward, a battered ship dwarfed by the immensity of the necropolis. As we drew closer, a sense of dread settled over the bridge like a shroud. The architecture seemed to writhe, the shadows dancing with an unsettling life of their own. "Commander," a technician called out, "there's movement within the structure, biometric signatures, unlike anything in our database." We watched, hearts pounding, as figures emerged from the ribcage. Tall, skeletal creatures cloaked in tattered robes, their faces obscured by hoods. They moved with an unnatural grace. There was a moment of terrifying silence. Then one of them stepped forward, its hooded head tilting towards us. A voice, a chorus of murmurs filled the bridge via the ship's translators. "Welcome, pilgrims of the stars. We have been waiting for you." The alien voice scraped against my skull, twisting and turning the translated words into something almost nonsensical. But the meaning was clear. They knew we were here. They'd been expecting us. My hand tightened around the armrest of the command chair, knuckles turning white. Fear, cold and sharp, clawed at my throat. "Paxley," I rasped, forcing myself to speak past the lump in my throat. "Full battle readiness. All weapons online. We don't know what these creatures are, but if they attack..." The bridge was filled with the frantic scrambling of the crew. Technicians barked orders, their voices tight with apprehension. But amongst the fear, I saw something else. Defiance. We were the warriors of the Hollow Crusade, and we wouldn't go down without a fight. The lead figure among the beings raised a long, clawed hand, silencing the chorus. It remained still, as if studying the star wraith through the viewport. Then, it spoke again. The chorus, this time imbued with a seductive tone. "You bring weapons, pilgrims, but we offer knowledge. Secrets of the old gods you seek. Secrets your kind has long forgotten." A ripple of unease passed through the bridge crew. Knowledge, the promise of lost relics, of forgotten power, were the very foundation of our crusade. The prospect, however dangerous, was undeniably tempting. "What kind of knowledge?" I forced myself to ask, my voice tight but steady. The alien tilted its head further, a gesture that felt unsettlingly knowing. "Knowledge of the void, pilgrim. Knowledge of what lies beyond the boundaries of reality. Knowledge that will set your kind free." Free from what? My mind whirred, piecing together fragments of information. This psychic presence, the disturbing architecture, the whispers of forgotten gods, all pointed towards a power beyond human comprehension. A power the old gods might have wielded, a power that may have driven them mad. "We serve the old gods," I declared, my voice gaining strength. "We have no need for knowledge that could corrupt us." A laugh ripped through the bridge, a cacophony of discordant clicks and hisses. It had no humor in it, only malice. "The old gods," the alien hissed. "Pawns in a game far grander than you can comprehend. Their knowledge was incomplete. We offer you the final piece, pilgrim. The key to unlocking your true potential." The crew exchanged glances, faces grim and conflicted. The promise of power, the temptation of knowledge. It was a siren song, a promise of forbidden fruit. I slammed my fist on the chair. "We are not pawns. We are the servants of the divine. We will not be swayed by your promises." The alien's hooded head swiveled slowly, its attention focusing on me. Its chorus of voices dropped to a single whisper. "Then you are blind, pilgrim. Blinder than you know, but the void welcomes you nonetheless." With that, he raised its clawed hand, a gesture of dismissal. The other figures turned and glided back into the ribcage structure, the green light dying down like a fading heartbeat. The necropolis stood silent once more, its visage a monument to a civilization both powerful and utterly alien. We were alone again, adrift in this alien sea of swirling nebulas. But the silence on the bridge was louder than any words. The crew stared forward, their faces lined with fear and a dawning realization. We weren't just lost anymore. We were caught in a game far bigger than ourselves, a game where the stakes were our very sanity, perhaps even our souls. I straightened in my chair. "Paxley," I said, my voice tight but unwavering. "Plot a course to explore the city. We need to find a way out of here, but we also need to learn all we can about these creatures. If their knowledge is a weapon, then we must understand how to wield it against them." The bridge crew held my gaze, their eyes reflecting the same grim determination. We were the warriors of the Hollow Crusade, and even in the face of the unknown, we would not falter. The horrors of this alien city awaited us, but retreat was no longer an option. We had stumbled into a cosmic chess game, and whether we liked it or not, we were now forced to become players. A tense quiet had befallen the bridge as we charted a descent path towards the sprawling Bone City. Below, the obsidian architecture thrummed with a strange, malevolent sentience. "Drop the shields as we enter the lower atmosphere. Prepare for anti-grav maneuver," I ordered. "And keep those weapon systems hot, just in case our new friends decide to change their minds about hospitality." No one dared speak, the collective dread hanging in the air. After all, who drops shields and flies a warship into the lair of a monstrous psychic alien race? The Hollow Crusade, apparently. We were either mad or desperate. I wasn't sure which. As the star wraith pierced the outer veil of the city's atmosphere, the psychic pressure intensified. Whispers, like the chattering of 1,000 insects, invaded the mind, bringing flashes of nightmarish imagery. Monstrous structures loomed from the swirling mist. A shudder racked the hull as the anti-grav systems kicked in, the whine of overtaxed engines filling the bridge. Below, the sprawling panorama of the Bone City stretched into the hazy distance, a labyrinth of interconnected towers and macabre plazas. "Commander!" Vale's voice croaked through the speakers. "We're receiving a transmission. It's overriding our channels." The air thrummed with a discordant symphony, the alien voices clawing at our minds. Images flashed to life within my vision. A vast chamber, pillars fashioned from colossal skulls, and at its center, the same hooded figure that had greeted us. In the chaos, it pointed a finger, beckoning the star wraith down. My grip on the armrest tightened. It was a trap, surely, yet some part of me urged me to see this through. "Bring us down," I ordered, my voice hoarse, "but maintain flight readiness. If those creatures show a single sign of hostility..." The star wraith descended, tilting its nose towards the heart of the necropolis. As we navigated the nightmarish cityscape, its full scale became apparent. Colossal rib cages curved to form grand archways, hollowed spinal columns supported vast, open squares. The sheer audacity of it, a civilization built upon the remains of forgotten behemoths, sent an unsettling chill down my spine. Paxley, as pale as any of the bones surrounding us, pointed. "There, the chamber. It seems to be a landing zone." We set the battered ship down in a courtyard, the silence that followed the engine's cut-off deafening. The bone structures cast long, ominous shadows as we waited. The only movement was the constant shifting of the nebulae overhead, their swirling colors casting an eerie glow. "Commander," Garrick spoke, "permission to accompany you. Whatever they want, you shouldn't face it alone." I met his gaze, seeing the determination mirrored in the eyes of the other crew members. We were crusaders, fools maybe, but we were not cowards. "Gather a security team, 5 men. We meet them on their terms, but we won't be caught unprepared." The scrape of boots on metal broke the silence as the landing ramp extended. We stepped into the alien city, the taste of copper fear sharp in my mouth. The skeletal figures from before awaited us, their hooded faces impassive. And at their head stood the leader. With a flick of a clawed hand, it gestured us to follow. "Come, pilgrims. Seek the knowledge that is your birthright. Seek the power to transcend." The Bone City loomed above us. We followed them deeper into the necropolis, the silence broken only by the rhythmic crunch of our boots on the bone-strewn ground. The whispers in my mind intensified, a cacophony of alien thoughts and forgotten languages. Images flashed at the edges of my vision, monstrous creatures locked in eternal combat, swirling galaxies collapsing in on themselves, and a final, horrifying scene. A colossal entity with eyes like burning embers, its laughter filling the void. I slammed my fist against my temple, trying to clear the assault on my sanity. My vision swam, and I stumbled slightly. Garrick, ever vigilant, steadied me with a hand on my shoulder. "Commander," he muttered, his voice low and tight. "Are you all right?" I nodded, forcing back the nausea. "Fine, just these whispers. They're intense." The other men murmured agreement. These alien encounters were taking their toll, pushing us to the very edge of our mental fortitude. The macabre architecture narrowed, forming a twisted corridor lined with vertebrae etched with cryptic symbols. Suddenly, the figures in front of us halted. One turned, its hooded head swiveling towards us, and the whispers coalesced into a single sentence. "Here. This is where the knowledge waits. But be warned, pilgrims, the price of enlightenment is steep." A massive ribcage archway loomed before us, its entrance shrouded in swirling mists. Beyond, an eerie blue light flashed rhythmically, emanating from an unknown source. My grip tightened on the plasma rifle slung across my back. "Knowledge can be a weapon," I said, my voice tight but unwavering. "Perhaps that's all we need." We exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement of the danger that awaited. Then, with a deep breath, I stepped forward, leading the small squad through the mist into the unknown. The blue light grew stronger, revealing a vast chamber beyond the archway. Its walls were a mosaic of bone fragments. In the center of the chamber, a pedestal of polished obsidian glowed with the same eerie blue light. Atop it, resting on a bed of what appeared to be petrified flesh, lay a sphere of swirling energy. It was beautiful, mesmerizing. Threads of power danced within its depths, promising untold knowledge, unimaginable potential, but a feeling of wrongness, a deep-seated unease, clawed at my gut. "The knowledge you seek." A voice bounced through the vast chamber. The figure that had greeted us stood shrouded in the shadows near the entrance. "The power to transcend your limitations." I kept my gaze fixed on the sphere, the allure of its power growing stronger with every passing second. Yet the whispers in my mind intensified, their message now clear, a desperate plea for help. "What is it?" I asked, the question tearing through the seductive silence. He tilted its head, a gesture that felt unnervingly knowing. "The price, pilgrim. The knowledge comes at a cost. You must become a conduit, a vessel for—" Its voice trailed off, replaced by a horrifying growl that rattled the bones of the chamber. A monstrous form emerged from the swirling mist behind the leader, an unholy amalgamation of bone and shadow. Its eyes, burning embers that reflected the image from my vision, locked onto me. "The void," the figure said, finally revealing the truth. "You will become its herald, its instrument in your world." Realization dawned on me, a cold dread washing over me. This knowledge, this power, it wasn't a gift. It was a trap. A weapon aimed not at our enemies, but at our very souls. The monstrous creature roared, lunging forward. My hand instinctively reached for the plasma rifle, but it was too late. He raised a clawed hand, and a wave of psychic energy slammed into me. The world dissolved into a chaotic kaleidoscope of colors and screams. My own scream joined the chorus as searing pain erupted in my mind. The agony was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. My mind felt like a shattered vessel, flooded with a torrent of alien thoughts and images. Visions of cosmic destruction and eldritch entities swirled before me. Through the haze of pain, I became vaguely aware of Garrick's desperate shouts, the crackle of plasma fire. The monstrous creature roared in defiance, its shadowy form shifting under the relentless assault of my men's weapons. But their efforts were futile. They were fighting not just a beast, but the very embodiment of the void itself. Then, amidst the inferno, a single thought, clear and distinct, pierced through the madness. It wasn't mine. It belonged to the entity, the void, and it radiated a chilling certainty. Victory. The figure stood observing the chaos, its hooded head tilted in amusement. It had won. I was its puppet now, a conduit for its unspeakable power. The pain began to recede, replaced by emptiness. I felt different. Stronger, yes, but a hollowness gnawed at my core. It was as if a part of me, my very soul, had been ripped away and replaced with nothing. My gaze fell upon my men. They fought with a desperate bravery, their faces filled with fear and defiance. But their efforts would be in vain. I understood with a terrifying clarity that they were merely obstacles to be eliminated. A cold smile touched my lips, devoid of warmth or humor. "Stand down," I said, my voice laced with a metallic resonance that sent a shiver down my own spine. The men froze, their faces lined with confusion and dawning horror. Garrick, his face pale but resolute, lowered his weapon and met my gaze. "Commander?" But I was no longer their commander. I was an instrument, a pawn in a game beyond their comprehension. "This fight is over," I declared, my voice devoid of any human emotion. "We have a new purpose now." My hand rose, and a wave of dark energy surged from it, engulfing the monstrous entity in its grasp. Its roars turned to whimpers as it was subdued, its power channeled through me and directed back at my men. They didn't stand a chance. The energy ripped through them, leaving behind charred husks where valiant warriors once stood. The silence of the dead filled the chamber, a testament to my newfound power and their utter annihilation. The figure approached, its chorus of voices turning into a single word. "Excellent." I bowed my head, a hollow mockery of obedience. "What is your command, Master?" A horrifying chuckle filled the chamber. "The knowledge you seek, Pilgrim, is within your grasp. Now go. Unleash the void upon your world. Let it consume all that you hold dear." I straightened, a cold fire burning in my eyes. The crusade, my faith, my men, all but fleeting memories now. I was a harbinger of oblivion, and the galaxy would soon tremble before my newfound power. Centuries after the fateful descent into the necropolis, I remain. Time has little meaning for a being like me. The galaxy has changed. Empires have risen and crumbled under the weight of their insignificance. I have observed, nudged, and in some cases, consumed. It is a monotonous cycle of petty conquests, fueled by the endless hunger that now defines my existence. A shard of my former self lingers, a spectral observer forced to witness the atrocities orchestrated by my own hand. It reminds me of regret, of the camaraderie I once knew, of the misguided faith that led me down this path. I ignore it, crushing those fragments with the same ruthlessness I employ against civilizations. My current vessel is a towering construct of bone and shadow. Through it, I channel the void's power, bending reality to my whim. Stars wink out at my command, planets shatter under the weight of my displeasure, and entire fleets of defiant warships descend into madness that reflects my own. They call me different names: the usurper, the cosmic blight, the herald of oblivion. None are accurate. None come close to encapsulating the hollow horror that I have become. Sometimes my vessel navigates to a desolate stretch of space, a graveyard of dead planets orbiting a long-extinguished sun. Here, a single twisted structure remains. I linger for a time, surrounded by the ghosts of my past. They whisper accusations, pleas for redemption, and always the promise of knowledge, an insidious reminder of the trap that ensnared me. I have long passed the point of redemption. There is only the task, the endless expansion of the void, the duty ordained by the entity I once foolishly thought to command. Yet in my darkest moments, when the whispers of my hollowed soul grow too loud, I wonder. The skeletal figures, were they guardians or architects of my downfall? Did I ever have a choice? Or was this macabre path, this monstrous transformation, my destiny from the moment the Hollow Crusade first ventured beyond the charted stars? Such questions have no answers. I am an extension of the void, a conduit of infinite destruction. In the great scheme of things, I am a tool, a weapon wielded by a force greater and more terrible than any of us could ever have imagined. Perhaps amidst the ruin of countless worlds, I will find what I thought awaited me in that Bones City, the knowledge, the purpose the Crusaders so desperately sought. Or perhaps I will discover only a bleak truth, that in the grand design of the cosmos, even a monster as terrifying as me is ultimately insignificant.